Hey guys, just going on the topic of indices, and we're going to go through a few of the laws of indices. Okay, so for example, if you've got x times x, basically how you're going to go about that is you have these things are called bases. Okay, and essentially there is a thing called a power. So for the actual pronumeral x, this term, there's a power and it's actually 1. But you can't actually see it. It's like if someone said x plus x, there's actually 1's there, but you don't actually see it. Okay, so that's equal to 2x. Okay, but in this scenario, x times x, what's going to happen is you're going to have to eventually add these two powers. So x times x, you add the powers, and that's why it becomes x squared. So that's the first law of indices, is that you're going to have to add these two powers, but as long as the bases are the same. So as you can see here, the bases are the same. This is the same base as that. Now, for example, if I said x to the power of 10, y to the power of 3, can you add these two powers? No, you can't, okay? The reason why is because they are not the same base. So your answer will be x to the power of 10, y to the power of 3. So moving on to the next law of indices, okay? If you have x to the power of 10 and then x to the power of 3, what you're going to do in this scenario is you're going to have to, because they're dividing and they're the same base, you're going to have to subtract these two powers. So eventually you're going to have x to the power of 10, take away 3, and you're left with x to the power of 7. Okay, so if this is a worth 2 marks question, then 1 mark will be given out for the working out, the second mark will be given for the answer. But generally it's a 1 mark question because it doesn't require that much. Okay, so in this scenario you're going to have to subtract the powers and you're left with this over here. Let's go through another question. So if you had to, for example, x to the power of 3 and then x to the power of 10, okay, you're still going to subtract them, okay, because they have the same base. However, this is a higher power. So what you're going to do eventually is you're going to go x to the power of 10, take away that 3, you're left with 1 over x to the power of 7. Okay, so you still need to apply the same concept. If you divide and they have the same base, you're going to have to subtract the powers. So that's covering the first law, and then you have the second law of indices, which is when you, for the first law, when you multiply, and then eventually you're going to have to end up adding the two powers. Okay, in this situation, when you divide and they're the same base, you have to subtract. Okay, so you can see the differences between 1 and 2 is that the power is higher at the top. For this question, the power is higher at the bottom. Okay, so that covers the second law of indices.